All right, hey guys, so this is our second video of our trig ratios. So now that you have reviewed on how to use these, or actually which trig ratios go to which angles, I guess, or which sides you use for the trig ratios, we're now going to use them to try to solve for some missing sides of the triangles. So first, let's just quickly review what those trig ratios are. So again, it's SOHCAHTOA. So S stands for sine, and that's going to be the opposite side over hypotenuse. Cosine is the C. That's your adjacent side over hypotenuse. And T stands for tangent, which is going to be opposite over adjacent. So remember, first thing you're going to want to do is find the angle on the actual triangle. And then using that angle, you want to label your sides opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse, and then go ahead and solve for x. So I'm going to do some examples for you as soon as I get to the next page here. All right, so these are what your homework problems are going to look like. So as you can see, you are given an angle, you're given one side, and then you need to find the missing side. Most important is to realize it is a right triangle, so we can use our trig functions. Remember, if you don't have a right triangle, this isn't going to work. You're going to do law of sines or law of cosines. Okay, so since 37 is our angle, the side opposite of it is obviously our O. Here's our right angle. I've circled that, so the side opposite that is the hypotenuse, which leaves our 12 to be the A. So as you can tell, we need to use this side because it gives us a number. My poor dog needs water. And this side is our X. So then you're going to have to ask yourself, well, which trig function uses an O and an A? That would be tangent. So going back to your notes, if you wrote this down, hopefully you did. Tangent of theta is opposite over adjacent. So now you just plug things in. We have tangent. Theta is just your angle. So that's 37. Our opposite side is our x. And the adjacent side is 12. So now you need to solve for x. So this is just two fractions basically. So you got to cross multiply. Some of you would normally just put the 1 underneath there to help you, and you would cross multiply. So 12 gets multiplied by tangent of 37, and then 1 goes to the x, and that's just x. Remember, you have to plug it into your calculator this way. It has to be 12 in front times tangent of 37. You cannot type in tangent of 37 times 12. I'm going to leave it at this. You guys should be able to figure out the answer from here. It should be a number that makes sense when you get the outcome. All right, next one. We're going to do the same thing. So we're first going to indicate here is our angle. It's the 72. Now let's talk about labeling the sides of the angle. 72 is the angle points to the opposite side. Our right angle says that it is across from the x side, so that's the hypotenuse, which leaves A to be the x. So now we know that we need this side, because this is, we have to solve for x. And we need this side because it gives us a number. So which trig function uses A and H? Well, that would be our friend cosine. So cosine of theta equals adjacent side over hypotenuse. And now you just plug in. So theta, our angle, is 72. Adjacent was 6. And the hypotenuse was x. Now this equation looks a little bit different from our last one. Remember before when we talked about this at school earlier in the school year, we said that if the x is on top, then we're just going to take the other number and multiply it by the trig function. But now our x is on the bottom. So you can either go ahead and go through the steps and cross multiplying, or notice, I just have to switch these two. So if I move the x where the cosine was, and move the cosine where the x was, I now get this nice little equation. So when you plug it in the calculator, all you have to do is do 6 divided by, that's the fraction bar, cosine of 72, and you'll get your answer. If you want, like I said, you would cross multiply. So you would get, I'm not going to write it on here because it'd get a little messy. I don't want to confuse people. But you'd get x times the cosine of 72 equals 6, and then you'd have to divide by that cosine of 72 to get x by itself. Or you can just remember, if the variable's on the bottom, just switch the trig function with the variable, and it works out as well. All right, one last example. What haven't we used? Or maybe, I don't think I even checked to see if we used all 3 trig functions on my examples. I chose this one because obviously it's not our normal right triangle. We're so used to drawing it with our right angle on the bottom. This one's on the top. But it doesn't matter. Keep going with our steps that we've been doing. So indicate our angle. We have to use the 59-degree angle because it's the only one given to us. Remember, we can't use 90 degrees. Now we label. So this points to the opposite. Right angle points to the hypotenuse side, which means this has to be the adjacent. All right, so we know we have to use the x side, and we have to use a number side. It won't help us if we have 2 unknown sides. Always have to have a number. So we have an a and an h. Looks like we're back to using our friend cosine here, just like in the other problem. So then we just plug in what we know. Cosine of theta, which is going to be 59. Remember, a degree is the only thing that will go next to the trig function. So the adjacent is 34, and the hypotenuse is x. So here again, we have another one where our variable is on the bottom. So we're just going to do our little trick that we learned, and we're going to switch the trig function and the variable. So we get x on this side now. 34, we didn't do anything with it, just stays there. Divided by cosine of 59, and you would plug it into your calculator just like that. So you will have 4 problems on this assignment. Hopefully this helps you figure this out. Again, as always, let me know if you have any questions, and I hope it goes well for you, and it's a good refresher.